The paleo diet is an eating plan that imitates how prehistoric humans may have eaten. Paleo diet eliminates all processed foods, cutting down dairy, legumes and whole grains like oats, quinoa and brown rice. It allows all kinds of fruits and berries but eliminates all forms of dairy products like milk, cheese, cream or butter.
Paleo is a recent addition to a competitive diet market. It does not mean foraging in the forest like our forebears, but consuming the same food they supposedly did before the agricultural revolution spoiled everything by introducing grains, legumes and dairy to our menu. So, were the agricultural revolutions a tragic mistake? Is there a dark secret to the agricultural revolutions? And does it make sense for us to try to eat again like our forebears supposedly did? Hello and welcome to this ninth episode of Edo Ego Sum, I Am What I Eat. In the last 4 episodes of our mini-series about the Neolithic Agricultural Revolutions, we were looking at what they did and how they have affected our daily life by introducing food based on domesticated vegetables, grains and animals to our menu. As you have seen, these revolutions have not only happened spontaneously, almost everywhere they have also spread to the surrounding areas. Why? The main reason for their successful spread is that they enabled population numbers to increase dramatically. Take for instance the British Isles, a region of the world that has seen human-like creatures roam its coasts on and off for about 1 million years. Anthropologists studying the area for the few remains of that time have come to the conclusion that before the arrival of agriculture, the British Isles have been home to a few thousand people at most. The consensus is of less than 5,000 humans. For all the British Isles together, that is not only the UK, but also Ireland. So roughly the number of people living there in one public housing estate. In comparison, the islands are now home to 70 million people, of which 1 in 6 lives in Greater London, that is on 1/200th of the total land area. The revolutions changed everything. Once agriculture had become standard practice, population numbers skyrocketed. Not only did farming mean a more regular food supply, something a hunter-gatherer society could never be so sure of. The new lifestyle also means that babies could be weaned earlier, allowing women to have more of them during their lifespan, since the offspring could be fed grain much earlier than meat. As a result, population numbers increased dramatically where agriculture was introduced, not only in Britain. So everything fine for humanity? Smooth sailing to a successful future from now on? Well, not quite. There was a dark secret involved. Switching from reindeer herding to flour soup involved a trade-off. More but less healthy meals. True, a more regular food supply enabled humans to feed a bigger family, but this advantage was paid for with a less balanced diet. In general, Palaeolithic people, that is those that lived before the agricultural revolutions have taken place, who ate a lot of meat and berries, were healthier than their successors, the Neolithic ones. This is not only guesswork but has been confirmed by science. Life expectancy was 35 years for men and 30 for women in the Palaeolithic era. That is not exactly high by modern standards. Even a child born today in the Central African Republic, that is the country with the lowest life expectancy on earth at the moment, can expect to live for 20 years longer. If a child is born in Europe or Japan, it can expect to live for another 30 years. However, not in the first few millennia after the agricultural revolutions have taken place. The low life expectancy Palaeolithic people enjoyed fell even further to 33 years for men and 29 for women respectively. So about 5% less between 5000 and 3000 BC. The new grain munchers could not only expect to live shorter lives, they were also less tall, had thinner bones, cavity-ridden teeth, and had to deal with new diseases such as malaria, typhoid fever or tuberculosis that had apparently been unknown before. This narrative of the supposedly happy camping lifestyle before people were stupid enough to produce their own food has given rise to a new addition in the food section of your bookstore: the paleo diet. It aims to restore your health by letting you eat a lot of meat, berries and raw vegetables as supposedly our ancestors did. Oh yes, and at the same time lose some weight, of course. Before you rush to the butcher to follow this latest food fad, it may be worth considering why Neolithic man did not do the same. Reverse to the healthier lifestyle he had before. Simple math should give you a clue. Reverting to the old lifestyle would have meant either sacrificing himself or his children to death by starvation. Something the small reduction in life expectancy was just not worth doing. The 1.5 years average loss is trivial compared to the higher survival rate of your genetic material, if more of your children survive. So there was no going back for Neolithic humans once they had started to sow their first seeds. It would be the same for us. Following a paleo diet or their relatives like an Atkins, Montagnier or low-carb diet, which all claim to avoid empty calories like rice or wheat, would mean either much more land needed for food production or much less people able to survive. One of the reasons why these kind of diets are usually only peddled by those who can afford them, as they are quite expensive. Applying them on a large scale would be truly disastrous, either the end of our planet or of ourselves. Yes, growing your own food involved a trade-off. And, at least in the beginning, meant that a low life expectancy became even lower, but only by about 5%. However, it also meant that a lot more of your children would survive and would not starve to death. So for most people this choice was a no-brainer. This is why the Neolithic lifestyle spread so successfully and has stayed with us ever since. Nowadays, you can eat a very healthy and balanced diet with all the food that has been grown on a farm. So there is no real need for a trip to the forest to shoot a boar or gather some blueberries to eat well. You can of course, but the need is not there for most people, at least in most parts of the world. In fact, a paleo diet is peddled as a way to lose weight as much as to have a healthy food intake. Losing weight, as you may recall, is a problem for people with enough food, not too little. So something neither our paleo nor Neolithic forebears were losing much sleep over. Now that we have seen what the prehistoric agricultural revolutions have done, it is time to ask yourself why it has taken humanity so long to switch from eating mainly meat to eating mainly grain as a food supply. Humans seem to have been big meat eaters since controlling fire, so for several 100,000 years, whereas a diet mainly based on starch has happened only relatively recently. This is because a switch to a mainly starch-based diet requires more complicated inventions than to a meat-based one. What these inventions were and what we actually eat on a chemical level we will discuss in the next video called Plant Fodder for Us, the invention of a starch-based diet. Thank you for watching this episode of Edo Ergo Sum, I am what I eat. If you did enjoy it, please hit the like button, this would help other people find it on YouTube. If you want to receive more videos like this one, also about the present or future of our relationship with food, consider subscribing to the channel. Now it's your time. What do you think? Were people correct to follow this trade-off to a lower life expectancy but for more offspring to survive? Please leave your remarks and questions in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. Bye for now. Hopefully to the next video when the subject is Plant Fodder for Us, the invention of a starch-based diet.